right. Welcome back to Close Call. Here we have the one, the only James Yuri, who is back with us, not just on Close Call Show, but also back with us at Close. So we're very excited to have you here, James. And
Hey,
today we're going
hey.
to be talking about talk tracks.
Yep.
So, what are they? When do you use them? How do you make them? Let's find out. So, first off, James, maybe you could just give us like a quick introduction to talk tracks. What is a talk track?
Sure. Yeah. I think a lot of people think of a talk track as like a checklist of things that you need to cover in a sales conversation, in a demo, whatever it might be. I necessarily don't think about that. I think about it as a line that you can write down and take from some of your sales reps that are already use them that communicate complicated ideas or concepts in a simple way. Right. So, as salespeople, whatever industry you're in, there's always going to be some sort of technicality that you need to explain, some sort of complicated idea or concept that you need to describe to people on a sales conversation where it resonates with them. And a lot of times it's really easy to have to basically produce a new line for that on every single sales call. Instead, what you should do is, as a salesperson, try and find or write down a way to really simply describe that concept or idea that come up most commonly. So then anytime it comes up, you can just nail it with an easy to go to talk track. And then it's repeatable, right? And so you can pass it along to your other sales reps as well so that they can use it. And yeah, so talk tracks, in my opinion, is explaining complicated ideas or concepts in a simple way in a repeatable fashion.
Awesome. That makes sense. So then there's this idea of the difference between talk tracks and sales scripts. Of course, we've talked a lot about on our blog as well. We've talked a lot about sales scripts, building a sales script
Yeah.
for cold calls and things like that. There's a time and a place for it, maybe.
Yep.
But in what situations would a talk track be better than a sales script?
Yeah, it's a great question. I completely agree. Sales scripts definitely have their place when you're training, especially at scale,
Mhm.
brand new sales reps. Scripts are also excellent for when a sales rep has zero or very little product knowledge. They need to get in, they need to start selling, they need to get that motion in training, but they have no product knowledge. So they need a script to go line by line to help them through those sales conversations and get them familiar with selling the product and get them familiar with being on sales conversations. Scripts are great for high volume, short sales cycles. So basically, you create a script, you test it, it works really well in these short sales cycles, and then you can produce repeatable results based on that sales script. Sales scripts are great for those scenarios, right? Now, talk tracks should be introduced when the sales rep has more familiarity with the product. So, again, they have product knowledge, they're on more complicated sales conversations, they are communicating complicated thoughts and ideas, overcoming complicated objections. This is a good time to introduce a talk track. When this objection comes up, this should be a line that you can use to easily overcome it with confidence and grace without getting yourself stuck in the weeds, fumbling over your words. Just a very clean, simple line that explains that concept really easily, right? They already have the product knowledge, they understand it, but they need some words to really articulate those concepts and ideas in a very clean, simple way. Um, and then I think that talk tracks should offer more flow and feel more natural, right? It's sales scripts. A lot of times you can tell this is a sales script. It doesn't feel
Mhm.
natural. It doesn't have a lot of good flow. Talk track should feel natural and have flow. It should feel like the sales rep, they are such an expert and they're so confident in what they do that they just pulled that line out of their back pocket because they are the best salesperson on their team, right? And that's not always true. It's just the sales team or the sales manager, you all work together to figure out who has the best talk tracks. And you take those, you use them as like a cheat sheet for describing those complicated concepts, objections, ideas. And you take them and you come off as a sales rep as being an expert and extremely
Mhm.
confident. And then I believe that talk track should leave room for allowing a sales rep to introduce their own voice. So you take that initial talk track, and we'll talk about how to produce good talk tracks and how sales reps can access them. But taking those talk tracks and allowing the sales rep to introduce their own language to the talk track, right? You give them the foundation of this
Mm.
is useful, this is a good way to describe this complicated concept, but as they use it more often, you'll naturally hear them introduce their own voice, their own tone, maybe swap out a couple of words that they're more comfortable with. So then it feels even more natural.
Hmm. That makes sense. And so that kind of ties in with the next question then, talking about how do we build these kind of talk tracks? If it's the sales manager or the sales reps doing it, but how can that process kind of go to create a talk track?
Yeah. So a lot of if you're a sales manager and you're doing sales and you're hiring, you'll naturally realize that you have talk tracks that you use that are effective, right? And you need to write those down so as you hire or scale your team, you can start to document those and communicate and share those with your team as your cheat sheet, if you will, for describing those complicated concepts. Now, if you're a sales manager and you're not in the cockpit and you're not selling, you should rely on your senior reps. Your senior reps will also naturally have their own talk tracks that they feel very confident about. And you'll find that your reps will have really high quality talk tracks for different points in the sales conversation, right? So, sales rep, senior sales rep A might be awesome. They might have awesome talk tracks for this concept, and this concept. And then other senior sales reps have really high quality talk tracks for the other concepts that the other sales reps don't, right? So, there's a natural collaboration that can take place amongst the sales team to produce documents. And what I would recommend is what are your FAQs that come up on sales conversations? What's your demo flow? Like, how are you describing specific elements of your product, your service? And then what are your objections? Create those 3 docs and get your sales team collaborating on those docs to share their talk tracks that they use for those concepts. And then as the sales manager, once that's completed, of course, you can introduce your own talk tracks if you have thoughts and opinions on it, but finalize those documents with the best talk tracks and then review those with your sales team and push them as a go to for your sales team to use on a regular basis to describe complicated ideas, but also to train new sales reps that come on board. So, again, you might have a sales script for the zero product knowledge, but as they get in tune with selling a little bit, here's the talk tracks that we use commonly for overcoming objections, for frequently asked questions, and for demo flow and how you describe specific elements of your product or service.
Nice. Great. So then, as sales managers are creating these talk tracks for their team, what would you say are some key principles for a great talk track? How do they take it from just an average phrase to something that's really going to resonate with their audience?
Absolutely. A couple key principles would be a talk track should explain concepts, thoughts, or recommendations in a simple, easy to understand way. That's the first and foremost. Talk track should be natural and have a sense of flow.
Hmm.
Talk tracks should be able to flow into each other regardless of sequence, right? So again, going back to the checklist, talk track shouldn't be I'm going to go in this order and this is my talk track. It should be sales conversations often jump around, right? There's not always a perfect sequential order. Talk tracks should
Hmm.
accommodate that. So if you're going from this concept in a demo to this concept in a demo, and they typically wouldn't follow each other in sequence, you should be able to jump from here to here with a talk track and it should feel natural and it should
Hmm.
flow into another talk track explaining a different concept, idea, objection, whatever it may be. And then talk tracks should allow reps the flexibility to introduce their own voice. Give them a foundation to use, which will ultimately evolve into their own voice, right? You will hear these patterns and themes among your sales reps using these talk tracks, but you will notice that with time and as they use them, there will be the sales rep's individual unique voice introduced into those talk tracks, and you should accommodate for that as you're creating it.
Cool. So then, next question for you. How can sales managers make sure that their reps are actually using talk tracks? Because maybe they put in all this effort, they've created the talk track. That
Yeah.
happens with sales enablement content. No, that sometimes the effort is made to create this, but then the sales reps aren't really using it. So, what can sales managers do to make sure that the team uses those talk tracks?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've created the documentation and you've collaborated with your sales team to curate those really high quality talk tracks, um, hopefully you should reiterate that this is a cheat sheet for describing those complicated ideas, right? This is going to be your best friend. And if you use this, it is going to make your job easier because you're jumping on demos every day or sales conversations every day. And you're just going to be stuck in the weeds, describing these concepts over and over and over again, trying to figure out your own language versus just using the foundation that we've already established that is really clean and simple, right? So reiterating, this is your cheat sheet for describing these complicated ideas, overcoming objections in a graceful and confident way, even though you may not have the experience that you need to sound as confident as you will by using a talk track. So the reiteration. Now, I personally don't think that all talk tracks should be mandated or a requirement.
Hmm.
It should be your friend, right? Like if you say, "Hey, we've created these talk tracks to, for FAQs, objections, demo flow. Like you shouldn't say you have to be using these, but again, using the term cheat sheet for describing these concepts is going to be a better buy-in for your
Mhm.
sales reps. They're going to get it. They're going to say, "Yes, I'm going to use these because it's going to make my job a lot easier. I'm going to have to put a lot less energy into rethinking and reinventing the wheel on every sales conversation about these concepts and ideas." Now, if a sales manager does create these docs and they have effective talk tracks on them and they reiterate them and they present them as a cheat sheet for making your job easier and make you look confident and graceful as a sales rep, there should be natural high adoption. I've seen this amongst our own team talk tracks that I started years ago where I figured out a good way to describe something simple. I'll still see it come out in the language of our sales reps today, but in their own voice, right?
Hmm.
And and you think it really like rings that bell for me that, oh man, like I recognize that talk track, but I also see the like Kate's voice now in this talk track that she used that I came up with a couple of years ago. And we did put together these docs for objection handling, FAQs, and things of that nature. So there should be natural high adoption without you having to really push it on your sales reps. If you really are interested in tracking this, the best way to do this is, to adopt an audio analysis tool, like a Gong or a Convin.ai or Chorus or Fathom, these types of tools that are going to transcribe all the conversations. And then you can produce reports based on those conversations. And then, in those analytics, you can say, look for these talk tracks, right? Um,
Hmm.
then that would be one way of tracking it to one, see if sales reps are adopting it, but also to see what's working really well. So you can look for patterns and trends of the best talk
Mhm.
tracks. And that could also help you actually curate that document as time goes on. So what talk tracks are working really, really well and what scenarios, that can be a very effective strategy, especially if you have a bigger sales teams.
Nice. Excellent. So, thanks so much for explaining talk tracks to us, James. We've seen that when they work best, we've seen how managers can create them, how you can analyze them, and how you can use them in your sales team and in your sales process. So, thanks so much for joining us today, James.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have questions about talk tracks, you need help, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email.
All right.